Hi everybody, this is going to be a VR to October of the Biophilic Alternative. She did a video today called Is This a Past Life? And she asked for people who had had similar experiences or if they thought that they had encountered memories of a past life or had any kind of encounter with uh, thoughts, emotions, dreams, deja vu, that would lead them to believe that it was coming from a past life. I don't I can't ever think about so much of a past life experience. However, when you were talking about these experiences, about like having the picture image of the Isle of Tyree and then finding that later in a broadcast, my experience is a little different, but the same. And I don't know if it is because um, yours is anyway what happened to me. But I'm going to give you another aspect to throw in the mix that may just make it a little bit more muddier instead of any clearer. Um, I was born an empath, and so I pick up on a lot of different experiences that are coming actually from other people, not from myself. So a lot of times when I get the feeling of deja vu, sometimes I think it may be linked to someone else's experience that I am picking up on. Well, that doesn't mean that that is what October was doing when her um, experience happened. But I believe that there are, and maybe that's why I can't think that I was in a past life so much, because I pick up on so many other people's thoughts and emotions and almost like direction. But the things that have really thrown me for a loop are having a connection to someone that I know what they're thinking. They're a complete stranger that I met, and I did become obsessive about the thought of this one man, not for any other reason than I knew what he was thinking and I knew what he was going to do before he would show up. I knew he was going to show up. I knew what was going to play. I had these little reels of tape run through my head where I could see the whole play of interaction. And there would be one little thing that would mark the beginning of the event. And I knew the marker, and I learned it was almost like, now that I look back on it in retrospect, it was like my guides were teaching me, when we do this, pay attention to what comes next. And that then everything that I'd seen would happen, generally within the week. Um, some of my markers are if I have the dream when I'm sleeping, it'll be marked by tornadoes. And everything after the tornado becomes the thing I need to pay attention to. It's the message coming through. Sometimes the message is encrypted. Sometimes it just plays like a scene out of a movie, and then within a week, that is exactly what transpired. It can happen a couple of different ways, but there's always a marker for my psychic dreams like that. So, but when I was learning Reiki, my Reiki master would also have Reiki circles to where there would be a a lot of us come in, and it was called it's a Reiki circle, and how we would do it is that you had to be Reiki 1, 2, or a master, and it was a way for healers to get together and work on healers so that we could hone skills, and also so there might be anywhere from 3 to 10 people, sometimes as many as 18 people would come to these Reiki circles. And if we had more than about 8, we would break it up and have multiple tables going as well. One person would be on the table. We would only do them laying on their back, and we would do depending on how many people were there, we would break it up to where it was like either a 15-minute to a 30-minute session on that person. However, the person would have multiple people working on them. I've had some of my best psychic experiences while either performing Reiki like that or receiving Reiki like that. One experience in particular is a lot like the experience that you were describing in the videotape. And that experience was, I was flying in the air. So it was almost like it was a bird's eye view. Like my soul had left the body, and I was traveling. And I was traveling at a high rate of speed when I was traveling over a landscape. And then on the landscape became these 2 houses, and they were very European styled older homes. One very much was this green color, and it was very beautiful, faded, mossy green. Very beautiful house, but very Victorian style and very old world European style, I would have to say. It wasn't so much a Victorian, but a old world European style house. Not something that we see very often here in the United States. And then I didn't stay on that scene very long. And I was starting to, above the trees, I was starting to see a corner of a house appear. And I saw that house, and I was watching that house, and I knew that house was important. I just didn't know what was going on about the house. And I just knew I needed to be focused on it, and I needed to be paying attention. And I never understood exactly why, because I didn't see anything happening at the house. I didn't see people at the house. I didn't see animals at the house. I knew that the house had to have had a high fence around it of like brick, and that I was peering from a tall vantage point at this house. And it was basically what I could see through the tree tops. It was a large estate. And then it left, and I went on about the rest of my session. And when we would end the Reiki session, on each person, we would ask each Reiki healer if they saw anything or had any messages or felt anything or anything unusual happen, and they would tell whatever their story was or nothing or And then we also asked the person that received the healing what their impressions were, what they saw, what they felt. And I told everybody in there about um, that um, that happening. And so everybody knew that I had seen what I had seen. Probably, I believe that day that there were 5 other people present. Um, it didn't take but one day. It was Monday morning. I was getting ready for work. It was back when I was still watching TV. I would have it on the morning, like Good Morning America or the Today Show, one of those two. And there it was. And I can't remember right now who it was, but it was over in England, and they had captured a guy whose car was a block away from the house. He had a knife, rope, and black plastic, and was going to and had intention of going into this house and abducting and killing a famous person. And now I can't remember if I believe she was a singer, and I can't remember her name. Stone, I think was her last name. Um, she's a young girl, very pretty, blonde, and I can't remember. I really wasn't familiar with her at all. I had no real connection to her. I don't even recall ever listening to her music, but apparently she was a very popular pop singer. And the police, just by chance in England, had captured this guy before he was fixing to do something. She apparently wasn't present in the home when they found him, but he was stalking the house, ready to do it. He had everything in the car, and he had every plan and intention, and they just happened to run up on him and catch him. But that in of itself did not catch my attention. What caught my attention was it was a news helicopter, and they were filming as it was real time going down. They knew something was happening at this house, and they knew something was happening as this arrest was happening with this man. And the vantage point of the house was exactly what I saw. It was her. It was her house. I thought to myself, I understand that people see things ahead of time. They have premonitions. They have these things come through to them. And I thought to myself, I immediately called my Reiki master. I called Helen and I said, "You'll not believe, turn on the news. That's exactly the house I saw." And then what baffled me the most was, why? Why would I see this? Why? What was the purpose? There was no way that the information that I received would have allowed me to know that anything like that was fixing to happen. There was in no way, if I had seen anything happening at that house, that I would have been able to alert police. There would have been no way for me to know how to contact a police department in another country. So what would be the purpose of me seeing into the future and being able to do nothing about it? That's baffled me for a long time. But I think sometimes I'm thinking that maybe I was seeing, I'd connected with the news reporter that was up in the helicopter. And I just knew what was going to happen to that, the event of that day that he was going to cover. But I picked up on something. Was it that, I don't know who was in that helicopter. I still don't know who filmed that. It was being played in the U.S. On U.S. news stations, but that wasn't the person who was on scene. It wasn't Good Morning America or the Today Show or whatever. It was the local news station, I'm sure, of some sort. And so I have these experiences quite frequently, but they're not necessarily anything that I could do anything about. Most of the time, they're not even things that would matter. This was the closest thing that there was that would have mattered if a young girl's life was at stake. Um, that would have been, something to try to prevent. But most of the things that I see, so sometimes I think that I'm picking up on other people's thoughts. I'm picking up on someone else's experience sometimes when I'm getting the deja vu, like I've been here before, I've done this before. It's almost like it's come to me in a dream prior to me being in the middle of it, and then all of a sudden I realize I'm in the middle of the dream. I don't know whether this is like, they say that time runs, um, can run frontward and backward, and that if you prick your finger, you felt the pain before the prick happens. Like everything that happens is a time loop. And by the time the needle hits your skin, your brain receives it first and then tells your finger that it's hurt. This is sort of like that's a quantum physics thing about the brain feels it first and then tells the finger that it's felt it. It's also about what I talked about with my mother and her memory and then her loss of pain. Like the brain has forgotten to feel pain because it's preoccupied with something else now, and so pain isn't its function or doesn't feel it's necessary to throw it out there. It's like sometimes we jump into a different time dimension, and sometimes we're frontward and sometimes we're backward. So it's something sort of like time slips. That we're seeing an image of something that's happened in the past. Or maybe you're destined to live on this Isle of Tyree, and that it's familiar to you because you already know your future self is going to be. living there. And maybe this is the reason, uh, or maybe there is some purpose in Tyree that you need to fulfill for something, for someone, for some, maybe your spirit guide needs you there to teach you the next lesson or to give you the next thing that um, law of attraction is trying to deliver to you. Um, I do believe it could be a past life because we're from soul families and we have pieces of memory from that soul family. And I think that we can be picking up on a lot of different things. This is a very interesting topic because it gives you food for thought on, is it a past life or is it that one of your guides remembers the aisle and maybe that guide wants you to go there. And because this is maybe communication from the other side and they're driving you to replay or relive something that they desire to experience again through you. Or maybe they know your biggest blessing is going to be given to you there. Um, as an empath, I see it a little differently because all the things that I pick up that don't really belong to me, but they do belong to me because now they're in my thought, my field, my emotion, my aura. And so even though it's almost like I'm picking up other people's experiences and they become my own experience as well. Sometimes I can't tell where my experience, my real life experience begins and ends, and someone else that I come into contact with, I almost meld theirs with my experience. It's hard to explain, and sometimes I think that more people have these abilities that an empath has more strongly, but I think that there is nothing psychically given to one person that the whole collective is not capable of, but maybe it is in um, a more subtle gift, and they're not fully picking up on it, and that these deja vu moments or these deja senti or deja whatever those three words were, those three very French words, um, that possibly this is glimpses in showing you your gifts that are there, that are latent and that have been lying dormant, but want to be coming out, want to be used. Maybe the Isle of Tyree has something to do about bringing those gifts to you. Whether it be a past life or whether it be a future life for you in this moment, who knows until you go there to see. I think that one of the things I would be doing is putting a trip to the Isle of Tyree on my wish list, and I would be plotting and planning on how I was going to go visit that island to see what you feel once you step foot on that island. Once you step foot on what you saw, we're getting close to those images that you saw already. You're just so lucky that that isle is not that far away from you, as it's not something like clear across the other side of the world, where it might be more um, difficult to manage to get there, to see what it is that wants you to discover. Maybe it's something there that needs to be revealed, and maybe the universe wants to work through you to reveal it. But again, maybe you are revisiting a past life. I believe all things are possible, and there's only one way to discover, and that's to try to find a way to get there to that island. That would be my vacation dream. That would be what I would be working for and towards. Is what's it going to take to get there? And I think that would be where my next spell work would be focused. Is a trip to the Isle of Tyree, because those are the kind of things that drive me and make me not focus on some of the more mundane things in my life, because I want to know why these things showed up in my life. I want to know why these visions pop up when they do, because almost all of them have meant something. Sometimes it's just to teach me to pay attention to them, what the vivid dreams are, um, which ones are real, and how to know which ones are real versus, because an empath can have a normal dream too. When we're all human and we all dream and we all have wish lists and we all have all of that kind of stuff, but when I have the more psychic realm things that I experience, it seems to me before those gifts became more and more prevalent, they would give me smaller ones to work on, to figure out, to learn to trust, and say, wow, it took me a little while to understand that anytime there was a tornado dream, pay attention to everything that starts. The second that tornado stops, that's when everything else is going to come into play. And an important premonition that they need to tell you, they need you to already be aware of the fact that you're having these things that come true, so that when something important and they need you to act on it, or they want you to act on it, or that you're ready and that you can jump and take action without doubting yourself. So there can be all kinds of things that can be related to that moment, and that's just one of my experiences of hundreds. And didn't always act on all of them, but every time it was revealed to me how I had some insight to something that was going on. And I do not know always why. I feel like sometimes I'm a voyeur into things that are happening, and I don't understand what it is that the universe would let me tap into this for. Why do I need to tap into this? Why is it that I need to see that? I think I need to start working on deliberate, because how can you have an out-of-body experience and go forward into the time frame? I guess you can, and I guess you can also go back. So this is another thing, is when I'm on that Reiki table and I know I am flying and soaring away from my body, I'm having outer body experiences, and so now you've got me thinking, whether is it that I'm accidentally quantum leaping, I'm leaping. I'm time jumping. I am time traveling so that I'm going sometimes backwards and sometimes forward in time. Is that why things are like deja vu as well? It's because sometimes I get inundated with a lot of images that I don't remember when I come off of the table, but I have those deja vu moments all the time. So, very interesting topic to this week, and I'm going to be exploring that in my own personal workings because now you've got me wondering whether I'm going backward, forward, sideways, other dimension. I think all are possible. Um, you're knowing that I do have these experiences, and I think that they're more out of body experiences at times. I can see how I might be able to use that to go forward and backward in time and see what I might be able to do or correct. And maybe that's what you did. Maybe you've time leaped ahead and know what your future is going to be. And your dream was revisiting it. Maybe you skip back in time from the future. And maybe that's where these thoughts come from. So, is it a past life or is it your future self showing you where you're going to end up? It's just a thought. So, hope that gives you a lot more interesting things to add to the mix of a very interesting topic. Thank you, October. I loved the share. Thanks. Blessed be.